The silent arrival. The Zarathi hegemony had ruled for 10,000 years. Their crystal ships patrolled the void between stars, maintaining order through fear and technological supremacy. No civilization had challenged them for 5 millennia. That was about to change. Commander Thexal floated in the command sphere of his patrol vessel, the Eternal Vigil. His forearms manipulated holographic controls while his compound eyes tracked multiple data streams simultaneously. The Zarathi were a species evolved for space warfare. Their bodies adapted to zero-gravity environments over millions of years of evolution. Today's patrol through Sector 9 was supposed to be routine. The outer territories rarely produced anything interesting, just the occasional smuggler or refugee ship trying to escape the hegemony's control. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Erix, suddenly tensed. Her translucent wings, usually folded tight against her back, spread wide in alarm. "Commander, we have detected an anomaly at the edge of sensor range. Something is approaching through subspace, but the readings make no sense." Thexal rotated his primary eye cluster toward the display. The data was indeed strange. Whatever was coming wasn't using any known form of faster-than-light travel. It seemed to be folding space around itself, creating a bubble of compressed reality that moved through the universe like a stone skipping across water. The energy signature was unlike anything in their databases. "Alert the fleet," Thexal commanded, his voice resonating through the ship's bio-neural network. "Have them converge on our position. If this is some new species attempting to enter hegemony space, they need to learn the rules quickly." 23 Zarathi warships responded to the call, their crystal hulls catching starlight as they emerged from hyperspace. Each vessel bristled with weapons that could reduce planets to molten rock. Together they formed a wall of destruction that had never been breached. The anomaly suddenly stopped. Space itself seemed to exhale as reality snapped back into place, where nothing had existed moments before. A ship now hung motionless against the stars. Thexal had seen vessels from hundreds of species, but this was something entirely different. The ship was massive, easily 3 times the size of his largest battlecruiser. Its hull was not metal or crystal, but something that seemed to absorb light, making it difficult to discern its exact shape. Strange geometries played across its surface, angles that hurt to look at directly. What disturbed him most was the silence. Every spacefaring civilization produced some form of electromagnetic radiation, engine emissions, or communication signals. This ship was perfectly quiet, as if it existed in its own pocket of reality separate from the rest of the universe. "Attention, unknown vessel," Thexal broadcast on all frequencies. "You have entered hegemony space without authorization. Identify yourself immediately or be destroyed." For long moments nothing happened. Then without warning, every display on every Zarathi ship flickered and went dark. When they came back online, a single message appeared in perfect Zarathi script. "We are humanity. We have come to talk." The response sent ripples of unease through the fleet. How did these strangers know their language? How had they accessed their secured systems without triggering any alarms? Thexal felt his confidence waver for the first time in centuries of service. A small section of the alien ship's hull became transparent, revealing a docking bay. The message changed. "Send 1 representative. We wish to avoid violence." Thexal made a decision that would alter the course of galactic history. He would go himself. As his shuttle approached the human vessel, he noticed something that made his blood run cold. The ship wasn't just absorbing light. It was bending space-time around itself. His instruments showed that the vessel existed slightly outside normal reality, making it effectively invulnerable to conventional weapons. The docking bay was surprisingly normal, filled with breathable atmosphere and standard gravity. A single figure waited for him. The human stood on 2 legs, had 2 arms, and possessed a head with forward-facing eyes. By galactic standards, they were remarkably unremarkable. The being wore a simple gray uniform with no visible weapons or armor. "Commander Thexal," the human said in flawless Zarathi. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earthship Prometheus. Thank you for accepting our invitation." "How do you know our language?" Thexal demanded, his forearms tensing for combat. Captain Chen smiled, an expression that somehow managed to be both warm and slightly sad. "We have been watching your civilization for quite some time, Commander. We learned your language, your history, your culture. We know about the 347 species you have conquered. We know about the billions living under your rule. Thexel's wings buzzed with agitation. If you have been spying on us, then you know the penalty for such actions. The hegemony does not tolerate threats to its security. The human's expression didn't change. Commander, I need you to understand something very important. We are not threatening you. We are offering you a choice. But first, you need to see what you're really dealing with. Captain Chen touched a control on her wrist, and the walls of the docking bay became transparent. What Thexel saw defied comprehension. They weren't inside one ship. They were inside a fleet. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of human vessels surrounded them. Each one phase-shifted slightly out of normal space. They had been there all along, invisible and undetectable. This is just our scout fleet, Chen explained calmly. We have been preparing for this moment for 300 years, ever since we detected your first conquests. We developed technology specifically to counter yours. Your weapons cannot touch us while we're phase-shifted. Your shields cannot stop our quantum torpedoes. Your fastest ships cannot match our space-folding drives. Then why reveal yourselves? Why not simply attack? Thexel asked, his voice barely a whisper. Because we're not conquerors, Commander. We're liberators. But we prefer to do things peacefully when possible. The human gestured to a door that had appeared in the wall. Would you like to know the real reason we're here? Against every instinct, Thexel followed the human deeper into the ship. They entered a vast chamber filled with holographic displays showing star systems, trade routes, and military installations. He recognized them all as belonging to the hegemony. The level of intelligence gathering was staggering. 300 years ago, Chen began, humanity almost destroyed itself. We had weapons that could end our world, ideologies that divided us, and greed that consumed us. We came within minutes of total annihilation. But at the last moment, we chose differently. We chose unity over division, cooperation over competition, freedom over control. The displays changed, showing images of Earth's transformation. Cities that floated in the clouds, oceans teeming with life, forests that covered entire continents. Technology and nature existed in perfect harmony. When we developed faster-than-light travel and ventured into space, we were excited to meet other civilizations. Instead, we found empire after empire built on oppression, species enslaved, worlds stripped of resources, cultures erased. We made a decision. If we had the power to help, didn't we have the responsibility to do so? Thexel's compound eyes focused on the human. You intend to destroy the hegemony? No, Chen replied. We intend to transform it. Every species under your rule will be given a choice. Freedom or continued servitude. Those who choose freedom will be protected. Those who choose to remain will be allowed to do so. But the forced subjugation ends now. The commander's wings spread in anger. You cannot simply appear and dictate terms to an empire that has stood for 10 millennia. We will fight. We will resist, Chen nodded sadly. We know. That's why we're giving you this chance to avoid bloodshed. Return to your fleet, Commander. Tell them what you've seen. In exactly one standard rotation, we will broadcast our message to every world in the hegemony. Then the choosing begins. As Thexel's shuttle departed the human ship, he watched the phase-shifted fleet shimmer and vanish. But he knew they were still there, waiting in the spaces between reality. The hegemony had ruled through fear for 10,000 years. Now for the first time, they were the ones who were afraid. The Reckoning. The High Council of the Zarathi hegemony convened an emergency session within hours of Commander Thexel's report. The Great Chamber, carved from a single massive crystal that resonated with harmonic frequencies, had witnessed 10,000 years of imperial glory. Now it echoed with voices raised in fear and anger. Supreme Overlord Kextar dominated the center platform, her ancient form supported by anti-gravity generators. She had ruled for 8 centuries, her mind enhanced by quantum processors that allowed her to process millions of data streams simultaneously. The news of humanity's arrival had shaken even her legendary composure. One ship, Kextar's voice reverberated through the chamber, and you ran back to us like frightened hatchlings. The hegemony has never retreated, never negotiated, never surrendered. We have broken civilizations that spanned dozens of star systems. These humans will be no different. Thexel stood before the council, his forearms spread in supplication. Supreme Overlord, with respect, you didn't see what I saw. Their technology is beyond anything we've encountered. They exist partially outside our reality. Our weapons cannot touch them. The War Minister, General Vraxel, slammed his primary fist on the crystalline table. Then we will develop new weapons. We will adapt. We have the resources of 347 conquered species at our disposal. Surely their combined knowledge can counter one upstart race. Before anyone could respond, every surface in the chamber suddenly displayed the same image. Captain Sarah Chen appeared, but she wasn't alone. Behind her stood representatives from dozens of species, many of whom the Zarathi recognized as their conquered subjects. Citizens of the hegemony, Chen began, her voice somehow broadcasting in every language simultaneously. I am speaking to you from the Earthship Prometheus, currently in orbit around your capital world. Yes, we are here at the heart of your empire, and your defenses never detected us. The council members looked up in shock. Through the transparent dome above them, a shadow fell across the city. The human ship had appeared directly overhead, its massive form blocking out the sun. Panic erupted in the streets below as citizens who had never known fear suddenly faced the impossible. Do not be afraid, Chen continued. We have not come to destroy you. We have come to offer you something your empire has denied to billions. Choice. For too long, the hegemony has ruled through fear, taking what it wants, enslaving whom it pleases, erasing cultures that don't conform. That ends today. The image shifted to show a vast holographic map of the galaxy. Every hegemony world pulsed with red light, but now blue points began to appear among them. These blue lights represent liberation fleets, Chen explained. At this moment, human ships are appearing over every inhabited world in your empire. We are not attacking, we are simply present, bearing witness to what comes next. Kextar rose from her throne, her wings spreading to their full, impressive span. How dare you threaten the eternal order that has maintained peace for millennia? Chen's expression remained calm. What peace, Supreme Overlord? The peace of the grave for species that resisted you? The peace of chains for those who surrendered? That is not peace. It is oppression wearing a mask. The display changed again, showing images that made the council recoil. Worlds stripped bare by hegemony mining operations. Species worked to extinction in factory planets. Entire cultures reduced to museum exhibits after their populations were absorbed or eliminated. We spent 300 years studying your empire, Chen continued. We learned about every atrocity, every genocide, every act of cultural erasure, but we also learned something else. We learned about the Zarathi before you became conquerors. The images shifted to show ancient Zarathi art and architecture, delicate and beautiful, from before their imperial age. Your species once created wonders. You were explorers, artists, philosophers. You formed the first interstellar alliance based on mutual cooperation. Then something changed. Fear took hold. Fear that other species might surpass you, might threaten you. So you struck first and you never stopped striking. Lies and propaganda. General Vraxel shouted. Open fire on their ship immediately. The orbital defense platforms surrounding the capital world activated, sending thousands of antimatter missiles and particle beams toward the Prometheus. The weapons passed through the ship as if it wasn't there, detonating harmlessly in empty space. The human vessel remained unchanged, still partially existing in another dimension. Now let me show you something, Chen said. The display revealed Earth's history, but not the sanitized version taught in schools. It showed humanity at its worst. World wars, nuclear weapons, environmental destruction, systematic oppression. We almost destroyed ourselves multiple times. We committed every sin that you have committed, sometimes worse. But we learned. We chose to change. The images shifted to humanity's transformation. The moment when the last nuclear weapon was dismantled, when the last border was dissolved, when humanity chose to enhance rather than replace nature, when they decided that diversity was strength, not weakness. It took us generations to heal, Chen explained, to forgive ourselves and each other, to build something better from the ashes of our mistakes. Now we travel the stars not to conquer, but to prevent others from making our mistakes. We offer every species under your rule the same chance we gave ourselves, the chance to choose their own destiny. Supreme Overlord Kextar's voice was ice. And if we refuse your generous offer, Chen's expression grew sad. Then we will protect those who choose freedom, and leave you to rule over those who choose to remain. But your empire will shrink with each world that chooses liberty. Your military will weaken as species reclaim their sovereignty. Eventually, you will rule only yourselves. The display showed projections of the hegemony's future. In one timeline, they fought humanity and lost everything. In another, they accepted the change and evolved into something greater. The mathematics were undeniable. Resistance would mean the end of Zarathi civilization. You have one standard rotation to decide, Chen announced. Tomorrow we broadcast to every being in your empire. They will be offered 3 choices: remain under hegemony rule, claim independence with our protection, or join the Terran Commonwealth as equal partners. The Age of Empires is ending. The Age of Choice begins. The transmission ended, leaving the Council in stunned silence. Through the crystal dome, they could see hundreds of human ships appearing throughout their capital system. Each one phase-shifted, untouchable, waiting. The population below had stopped panicking and started gathering in public spaces, looking up at the ships with something the Zarathi hadn't seen in millennia: hope. Sub-Commander Orcs, who had remained silent throughout the meeting, suddenly spoke. Perhaps we should consider their offer. We could return to what we once were: explorers instead of conquerors, creators instead of destroyers. General Vraxel turned on her in rage. Traitor! You would abandon everything we've built? What have we built? Orcs challenged. An empire of fear that requires constant violence to maintain? How many species have we driven to extinction? How many worlds have we destroyed? The humans are offering us redemption. The council erupted in arguments. Some called for total war, others for negotiation, still others for surrender. Kexter watched the chaos with growing realization. The humans had already won, not through military might, though they clearly possessed it, but through something far more powerful. They had introduced doubt into the heart of the hegemony. As the arguments raged, reports began flooding in from across the empire. On conquered worlds, populations were gathering to watch the human ships appear. Resistance movements that had been dormant for centuries were stirring. Even among the Zarathi themselves, young citizens were questioning the old ways. Commander Thexal looked at the data streams with a mixture of awe and terror. In a single day, humanity had accomplished what no military force had managed in 10 millennia. They had made the hegemony look vulnerable. More than that, they had made it look wrong. The next rotation came too quickly. Across 347 star systems, every communication device, every display, every neural interface activated simultaneously. Captain Chen appeared again, but this time she wasn't alone. Representatives from every species humanity had contacted stood with her, including some Zarathi who had already chosen to side with change. Citizens of the galaxy, Chen began, for too long you have been denied the most fundamental right of all sentient beings, the right to choose your own destiny. Today that changes. Today you decide your future. The message was simple but revolutionary. Any world that chose independence would be protected by humanity's fleet. Any that wished to join the Terran Commonwealth would be welcomed as equals. Those that chose to remain with the hegemony would be allowed to do so, but they would make that choice freely. Within hours, the first worlds began declaring independence. The hegemony's outer territories, always the most rebellious, were the first to break away. Then the resource worlds, whose populations had suffered the most under imperial rule. By the end of the day, 43 star systems had chosen freedom. In the crystal chamber, Supreme Overlord Kextar stood before a shattered council. Half of her ministers had already fled, some to join the humans, others to prepare for a war they knew they couldn't win. The empire that had stood for 10,000 years was crumbling in a matter of days. Commander Thexal approached his Supreme Overlord with something he never thought he would feel for her: pity. The game is over, Supreme Overlord. We can choose to evolve or we can choose to fade into history, but we cannot choose to remain what we were. Kextar's ancient eyes focused on him. In 10,000 years, no one has dared challenge us. These humans have done more than defeat us. They have shown us what we could have been. Perhaps that is the cruelest blow of all. Outside the crystal dome, the human ship still waited, patient and untouchable. On the streets below, young Zarathi were painting symbols of change on buildings that had stood unchanged for millennia. The galaxy was transforming, one choice at a time. Captain Chen's final message came as the sun set on the capital world. To those who choose freedom, we stand ready to help you build something better. To those who choose to remain, we respect your decision. To the Zarathi themselves, we offer this: join us not as conquered subjects, but as partners in creating a galaxy where every species can reach its full potential. The choice is yours. The Zarathi hegemony officially dissolved 17 days later. Some worlds chose to remain together in a democratic federation. Others went their separate ways. The Zarathi themselves split, with the younger generation embracing change while some elders retreated to isolated worlds to preserve the old ways. Humanity's fleet remained visible for exactly 1 year. ensuring the transition was peaceful. Then, as suddenly as they had appeared, they phase-shifted away, leaving only a simple message. We are always watching. Choose wisely. Commander Thexal, now Ambassador Thexal of the new Zarathi Federation, stood on the observation deck of a ship heading to Earth for the first diplomatic summit. Beside him, Captain Chen watched the stars streak by. Do you know what the strangest part is? Thexal asked. You never fired a single shot. You conquered the greatest empire in galactic history without violence. Chen smiled. We didn't conquer anything, Ambassador. We simply reminded everyone that they had a choice. The hardest chains to break are the ones we forge in our own minds. Once people remember they can choose differently, empires become obsolete. As their ship folded space around itself and jumped toward Earth, the galaxy behind them continued its transformation. Worlds that had been silent for centuries found their voices. Species that had been separated reconnected. The age of empires had ended not with a bang but with a whisper. A simple question that changed everything. What do you choose? The galaxy would never be the same, and somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, humanity's fleet continued its watch, ready to answer when the next empire forgot that freedom was a choice that could never truly be conquered.